where I talk about all the things I make, mostly knitting, and I am here to share with you the things I have been working on. So just let's get started. I start normally with what I'm wearing. If there is anything handmade on me, there's not. So we can skip that part and we can go to finished objects. And I have one finished object. And it's been in the works for a while, in the maid for a while. And I'm not sure about the finished thing. I will show you and I will put it on for you in a minute. It's this thing. It's from Pompom. I have the issue here, right here. So I will show it to you. I think the pattern is called wefan, dus niet weflan, maar wefan. It's by Joanne Fowler, and I really like the way it was styled in this issue. Let me see if I can pop up a picture without showing the pattern. Let me see. Over here, she's wearing it on top of a nice dress, and I was like, well, that's a nice thing to just put over something, to have an extra layer without being completely in a sweater or something. So I chose yarns I had in my stash. I did had to order like the dark pink is had that yarn by myself, and that was, let me see, yeah, I already had 2 skeins of that put aside because it was called for more than one skein of that main color. It's the color used most also for the trims at the neckline and stuff. So I anticipated on 2 skeins for that. I do have lots of leftover, so I can make a complete hat or something out of that leftover yarn. The other 2s were called for 1 skein, I think, and I was already like, it's like exactly 1 skein. And I knew from the mohair, which is the brownish yarn, that I had used a tiny bit to make a mouse for my oldest child, so I was anticipating of running short on that one. But the other I had a complete skein, and I was quite sure that it would be enough, maybe just enough, but I really needed some of a second skein. So I ordered those for the last few rows. I had to do like 2 more rows of each color at that point, but that's fine, it was my own fault. But yeah, so this is it, and I really like how it looks with the strips that are weaving, intertwining with each other, and I will put it on. I also don't mind the front. Let me see which is the front and the back, because there is definitely a front and a back to this, and I will show you what I mean with the issue. It's not perfect over this dress, I'll tell you that. What I do like is when you have it like this, it's just long enough to cover up. I could have had 1 more repeat underneath. I wouldn't have minded that, but in this way it shows my waist just under the shirt, so I like that, and I like how it drapes. I don't mind the neckline, but I have an issue with this, and it's the back, and I don't know if you can see it on camera really, or maybe it's just when you look at yourself in the mirror that it's annoying, because sometimes that happens when you are looking to yourself in the mirror and turning around, and the clothes are doing things that they won't do when you're just wearing them. But I have quite a curved back, and I think there's just too much fabric over there, so I'm not sure. I think I will wear it definitely. I like the colors, and it's fine. As I said, when I'm wearing it like this, I'm like, wow, that's cute. but it's more like that it looks so much bigger in the back than it does in the front. And I know that that's just because you I'm a woman and I have boobies, so yeah, that's of course those are not in my back, so of course the fabric will be looking bigger there than in the front. But I was thinking maybe if I would do it again, because you crochet, it's crocheted and you make it sideways. What if I would have just skipped one repeat in the back? Then it would be narrower in the back. Would that work? I'm not sure. I think that's something to think about. Oh, give the brightness a little turn. I'm in a different spot, by the way. That has a few reasons. One thing is that I moved my, this is the same stash as you have seen in view in the last videos, but I moved it around in my office a bit. And I was like, well, I like recording next to my yarn, so that's why I'm over here now. The other thing is that my window is right up there and it's gloomy now, so I have my studio light on as well. But all the light is coming from one direction, and although I like sitting next to the window and having a little play with that, it's not always perfect with tweaking things. Not that this is perfect, because I already see that there is maybe way too much light on me now, but I was just trying a few different things. And another thing is that I'm most of the time working at my I have like a workspace in the middle of my room, and there's always stuff on that, and when I record I want to gather my projects around me, and I always have to be careful not to to have enough space around me to place them. And now I'm on a kind of couch, bench more than a couch, and I have just room around me so I can put things there and clean up a little bit more easy after recording. So yeah, I finished it. I will wear it. I'm not sure yet how. I think the neckline of this dress is not perfect for this, but I will find use for it, and it looks cute. I think it's also just getting used to a new item of clothing, so yeah, it will be used, and I like the colors together, and it will be fine. It's like, it's not hot over here at the moment, but it's like sweaty weather, I don't know, humid, and yeah, you sweat easily, and it's not hot in temperature, but it feels hot, so not ideal to wear mohair in that kind of weather. So it will be for the little bit cooler days that are coming, because summer is already almost over here, so this will get used soon, I think. And I have 3 projects I have been working on and some spinning to show you. And I will start with something I ripped out and cast on again. So you have seen this before, and I think I was further along last time than I am now showing it. Those are the let me see, I put my skeins in the socks so they not get twisted, because I'm working 2 at a time, magic loop. These are the contrast blast socks by Stephen West. This was the sock along he did this summer, and I knitted till after the heel. So I did the heel flap and the heel turn, and then I started in the round again, and I made a mistake with the color I ended on before starting the heel. So once I was working the rounds for the foot, it didn't match up with the stripes I had on hold for of the leg. And that's not, I could have tweaked it and things, but I couldn't be bothered with figuring out how to tweak it and adjust it so it would match. And another thing was that one of my socks was bigger than the other, so all the excuses pile up. And there was another thing, that my gauge was looser than I like it. So I went down to the needle size. I normally use 1.75 for socks. This is quite a thin sock yarn and I really like a tight gauge, so I went down to 1.5 millimeters. So these are very tiny needles. And I cast it on again, and I was very much in doubt if I would cast on a bigger size, because I would go down in gauge so much, so my stitches would be way smaller than the first time I knit them. But I have knit socks on this exact needle with 72 stitches and it was fine. So I just was like, well, I will just cast on and we will see. And I think they get a little bit too tight. And I just don't want to start over again. So I will just finish them, and maybe my children can wear them when they're a little bit bigger, longer, have bigger feet. Just in around the house maybe, but we will see. Sometimes you can only see how it fits when they're done. But what I did not anticipate on is that the slip stitches in the pattern make the fabric stiffer. So normally with 72 stitches on these needles I have a lot of stretch in there to get it over my heel, because I think it will fit around my leg, and it does fit around my foot, but I think the problem is getting it over my heel. So we will just see. It's a nice thing to just work on when you're in a waiting room or something like that. I recently started knitting while taking a walk, and I can just manage this. I did 2 at a time, and you work with 2 colors. So I have 4 strands of yarn dangling from this project, and that's quite a challenge to keep it all untangled. It doesn't work always. Sometimes I have to just sit down and get everything nice and clean again. But yeah, it's a fun project to work on, and it's just meditating and fun, and we will see if I can get them on or not, and otherwise there will be someone that fits them right. That will be okay. So that's something I've been working on. I took a project, I worked on a project that I did not work on for a while, but yeah, I finished the crochet thing. I finished another thing, but maybe I will show it next time. I was crocheting a chameleon for my youngest child, and it's finished. It's already broken off a leg almost. Maybe that's because I didn't fix it good enough, or maybe it's because he just pulled on it too hard. We'll never know, but that needs a little bit of a fix up before I can show it to you. But yeah, I had a few things finished up. I found it too hot to work on a... Wait for my next project while I'm saying this, but I found it too hot to work on a really big sweater that would cover me when I was working on it. So I took out this one again. It's the Windy Fields shawl scarf. It's hard for me, like in Dutch we have just one word that describes both a shawl and a scarf. It's just one thing, and you have triangular ones and you have straight ones, and I always get confused with the difference between scarf and shawl in English. And someone explained it to me like when it's a rectangle it's a scarf, but then another person said no, a scarf is just smaller, so it's just for covering your neck, and a shawl is more drapey and you can drape around you more. So I guess this is just somewhere in between, right? Because this will be a big rectangle, but you can also drape it around you. So I will just use both words to describe this. But yeah, it's a lace pattern and I'm doing it in a very thin yarn. It's a lace weight. The pattern is written for a silk mohair, I think, but I'm using a Finnish yarn. It's from Finnish sheep as well. It doesn't say the breed on here, but just Finnish sheep, Finn sheep. It's naturally dyed, and I'm not going to pronounce the name of this brand, but you can read that for yourself. And I had 2 skeins for a different project, but that didn't work out. So I have ripped it out and I'm reusing the yarn. So this is my complete skein I still have. There is more than 600 meters on this skein, and this skein is 550 grams. So it's a lot of yarn for such a small ball of yarn. This is super light, so it will be very nice to wear, I think. I did put a stitch marker on there, yeah, over here. So this is where I showed it last time, and I've done half a repeat since then. So it's going slowly but steady. I do know this by heart now, so that's nice. I don't have to. I took a picture of the pattern of the chart out of the book, so I can take it with me, but then there are other pictures on my phone and I have to search for it, and it's just not working that well. So I'm very happy that I can remember it now. If I keep working on it, if I put it down, I have to figure it out again, I think. But I was very much surprised that this is the amount I did never use of the first skein, and I had a little ball with the yarn I took out of the other project, and I was really thinking that I would have a shortage of yarn, because I do know I have a few meters less than the pattern calls for, but I'm also using different yarn, so it's always like you never know how that's gonna work out. But I think there is more yarn in this little ball than I ever thought I would, so I'm just gonna knit this up, and then I knit the rest of the first skein, and then I'm gonna count my repeats, and then I know how many repeats I can get out of the other skein, because the end is a little bit, it's not just repeating the pattern, it's now, but the beginning is a little bit different. There's a little bit of stockinette in the beginning, and your lace started a little bit different in the beginning than it's in the repeat now. So yeah, but I do like it. I had to figure out a little thing with the it's getting darker every time. I had to figure out something for the yeah, how you call this? They're not bobbles, but they're like bundles of stitches. You make a lot of stitches from one stitch, and then you knit all those loops together in the next row, and you have a lot of stitches to purl together in the next row. So that's tricky, especially with thin yarn, and you really have to make sure that when you're making the stitches you keep that very, very loose, so you have enough space to purl them together in the next round. And I'm now knowing what my rhythm is with that. Still, you have to be careful to pick up all the stitches, and I think at some places there is a loop hanging loose or something, but this is not like a very graphic shawl or anything, so it's flowy, and even the lace is a little bit organic, so it's not the worst thing in the world. The first bit I did after picking it up again, I did kind of mess up, but also could fix it in a way that nobody will see it. So I'm not gonna tell you what I did wrong, and maybe you see a little bit of a difference in the lace somewhere in that row, but I was just not going back, and that's atypical for me, but it doesn't bother me in this shawl, so it's okay, it's okay. And we will see how long it can get. I hope it will be long enough to wrap around at least once, but we will see. We will see. If I really have way too short, I have a lot of yarn short, then I can always think of a way to make it into a cowl or something. We will see. But this is something, it takes not that much space, it all fits in this bag very easily, so it's easy to take with me, and I'm enjoying it very much. And we will see. I will move my stitch marker up to where I am now, and then we can see how much further I get before next time I record. I just said that I found it too hot to knit a big sweater on my lap, but I did cast something new on, and if you have seen my Instagram account, you can guess what it is. And it's bulky, and it's woolly, and it's warm, and it's the thing I just said I didn't want to knit, but I'm enjoying this so much. And it is hard to show because it's going to be a cardigan, but it's knit in sections, and I have now knit the back and the sides and one front, and then you will close up the shoulders and knit a sleeve out of that. So it's a little bit of a long, strangely shaped piece now, so it's a little bit hard to show, but I will try my best. Let's see. It's going to be a Penguono. It's a pattern by Stephen West, and it's the most amazing to knit ridiculously shaped cardigan that I have seen, and I like it very much. The pattern is very intuitive. It's a fun thing to play with colors, and I'm just enjoying it. And this is just my project that makes me the happiest at the moment. So that's very nice. You start at the back, and I just it's in moss stitch, the back, and then you add those ridges to the side. I used mini skein sets I have in my shop. I used 5 different sets of these. I will have quite some leftovers, I think, but I used 5 of these, and then I also used the undyed yarn of these. And I had a, I will put this back later, and I had some leftover. You can buy at holst garn. You can buy color packs, and then you get like bigger and smaller skeins of colors that fall in one of their color teams. So I have like a whole lot of those, and those are the coast base, and that's with cotton, and the tight base, which is with silk, I think, but it's not like the smooth silk, it's like the fluffy silk. I don't know how to explain else. And I'm holding three strands together all the way. So the fun thing about this pattern is that all sizes uses the same numbers, only you change your gauge to get a bigger or a smaller size. So if you want a bigger sweater, then you take bigger needles, and I think a little bit heavier yarn if you want it to be at a tight gauge. But I don't think you should make this in a very loose gauge. But yeah, you can play with your needle sizes and the amount of strands you hold together. So I did 3 strands together, but you can also do like 2 strands together. That's completely up to you. Yeah, and then you start knitting sections. So it's all quite squared off, all the pieces. So you have the back, which is a big square or rectangle, and then you have the sides, which also knitted in different directions. And I have done one front, which goes in a slope down to the center, and then there will be a collar on it, and there will be a band on the bottom. It's not as oversized as I was thinking I would make it. So I was thinking to make it very much oversized, but I don't think that's the case. But it's mostly garter stitch, and there's a lot of stretch in there, so I can block it out a bit, and it will stretch out while wearing it. And there's also going to be a band on the bottom, and it will be just lovely to make, and it will be something to just cozy up in on the couch, or to put on as a jacket, or yeah. So I'm very much enjoying this, and I need to knit the other front, so that will be attached here, and then the shoulder bits to make it into a cardigan and not in a big strangely shaped flat piece. So then you connect with the shoulders, you knit the sleeves and the collar and the bands on the bottom. So there's quite a lot of knitting still in there, but it's flying off the needles. It's I think the most stitches I had on my needle are like less than 70, I think. So it's not a lot of stitches that you have to work with, especially when you think about very fine fingering weight sweaters or something, which can have like more than 100 stitches. It's all very manageable, and also because it's in sections, you can just, oh, I finished one section, oh, I would just do one more and a bit more, and it's very encouraging to work like that. So yeah, that's my Penguono, and I think I will make another one after this. I don't know how shortly after this, but I think I want one more, because they're so fun to make, and I think they will be very nice to wear. So those were the projects I've been working on. There's one project I want to tell something about and maybe get your opinion, and that's this sweater. I have not worked on it. This is the one with the finished sleeves. It's the I'm lacking the name now, but it's also out of a pompom issue. It's the cover design from issue 32, I think. There's one issue with a pink sweater on the front, and that's this sweater I'm making, and I just can't remember how it's called, but I will put it in the description. But I was debating with myself about which size I should make, and I was quite sure that it would block out more than it did. So the sleeves will be quite fitted, that's okay. It's not too tight or anything. But then I started the body and I was in a debate with myself, like, do I need to make the body a size bigger or not? And then I wasn't sure I had enough yarn. So I just was like, well, I will just cast on in the size I am working on. And we will see. Knitwear is stretchy, so maybe it will be a little bit more fitted. But I don't mind it. So I cast it on and then I put it away, and I was still in the back of my head was that voice like, won't it be too small? And I don't think for my waist and stuff it will be fine. It will be working. It's a little bit more fitted than maybe other sweaters I have, but it will work. The only thing is that I don't want it to stretch too much around the bust, because then it can get like, if there's too much tension, a little bit of stretch is okay. Knit is a stretchy fabric, it will curve around it, but when there's too much stress, too much tension there, I don't think that looks nice. So I was thinking, and I don't know who I heard talking about it, but I have done it once in a cardigan, and that's the thing called bustards, and you have that a lot in sewing. And when you have it in sewing, you take out those triangles you have in your sewing pattern, and you sew them together, so you create more space over here than there is in the side seams. And there is a way to do that with knitting. I did it once a long time ago, at a moment in my knitting that I didn't even really know what I was doing there. So, and that cardigan fits great, by the way. But I was thinking, like, I heard someone talk about bustards, and I was like, maybe that's the thing I can do with this sweater. So I can just put in the front short rows at the height of the bust. It won't change the amount of rows at the side, so my back piece and my front piece will still fit together, even with the sleeves. Even with the sleeves. The only thing is that you can create a little bit more rows just up front here, and by doing just a little, not too much, in pattern, I think I might try that, so that I get a little bit more confident about the size of this. And yeah, let me know if you think it's an idea to put bustards in here, because I know on the way the pattern is written, it's supposed to be a little bit more oversized, but that's not gonna happen because I don't have enough yarn for that. And that's fine, I knew that up front. But maybe to give it a little bit more shape, I can do the bustards. That would be an interesting thing, right? Something to think about. But I wanted to show that to you as well. And then one last thing before I really have to go, because I have an appointment in a few minutes. So I have to hurry up a little bit. I did some spinning, and I have 2 skeins with color. They are made in the same way, but in a little bit different colors. The only color that's in both is the pink you can see throughout, and that combines those together. I did one gradient, like from one blue over other blues to a very, like a royal blue, like almost a purple blue. And the other strand is just undyed, I think it's Corriedale, but I'm not completely sure. But I applied it with an undyed single I spun, and this one is the same, but it's going from yellow to a dark green. And I have more of the undyed. So I applied the rest of the undyed I already spun, and I do have a lot more of this, and I'm going to spin it up just like I have this skein, and then I want to make a sweater out of it, and it will be my first hand spun sweater, so I'm very excited about that. So it will be a lot of this cream, and then with those two striped in there, and there will be like, yeah, they will change color over the course of the sweater, so that will be very, very nice. And I already have a sweater pattern in mind, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's going to be the Traveler Sweater by Mary. It's with garter, riches, and stockinette stripes. So it's striping stockinette with pearl bumps, I think, or with garter riches, I'm not sure. I haven't read the pattern yet. But it's striping in texture, and I'm thinking about making it both striping in texture and striping in color. So I think it will be very fun. It has a hoodie, so it will be a very cozy sweater, and I think I will make that out of this yarn. So that's something to look forward. Other plans I have is picking up the sweater I'm knitting for my dad again, because I think it will be nice if it's finished somewhere this winter. So he will not wear it for the coming months because it's not that cold in the Netherlands. Until December it's not really that cold, and the coldest month over here is February, so I really want to finish it before then. And yeah, I think I will have to take it out somewhere the coming weeks to get in the rhythm of the pattern again. But yeah, I think that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye!